I was originally not planning to do this video because usually the first day livestream reveals are kind of underwhelming, a bit iffy, and not notable enough to warrant their own video. And with the whole lyrical and stereo reveals being now a thing, that's usually also less interesting. So I was not planning to make this video. Was it not for Bushiroad deciding to reveal Alestiel and decided to, you know what, let's break this thing. Because, oh my god, these reveals are nutty. So, we have to talk about that, and we have to talk about them right now. Stand up, Vanguard! If that intro doesn't explain what we're going to talk about, today we're going to talk about the new Alestiel, as well as some dedicated support cards around her. But you could say the laughingstock of the original ride lines for Lyrical Monastery. I feel like that was Alestiel, besides Willistra. But yeah, they decided to change her quite a bit and make her kind of ridiculous. It's like a Raging Form Dragon on steroids with a dex searcher for targets, while also enabling multi-attack, consistency options, and a resource loop that your opponent cannot interact with all too well. Yeah, it's kind of crazy once you say that all together, but more will make sense once we take a look at the card. So let's take a look at the card, shall we? So, for this brand new Alestiel, we have Holy Angel of Blessings Alestiel, and her effects are Dress Up, Archangel of Twin Wings Alestiel, so essentially she is her, so persona riding, cards that interact with her, also interact with this one. And then she has, of course, her own unique effects, which are Auto Vanguard Circle. At the beginning of your main phase, choose a card from your bind, put it into your hand, and bind the top card of your deck. This is identical to the original Alestiel, which makes it easier for you to plus a bit and also get into a very interesting resource / combo loop, where we're going to talk about in a second here. Then, for her wing stability, she has Black Wings, act on Vanguard Circle once a turn, cost, discard a card from your hand, search your deck for up to one card with Black Wings ability, call to the Vanguard Circle, and shuffle your deck. This is really, really good, because this means she can tutor out any Black Wings card from your deck. And since it's just a discard, that means you're not actually minusing, because you're just turning a card in your hand into any other Black Wings card. And interestingly enough, the Black Wings Grade 2s are kind of very unique, as they have like Mega Colony types of effects. They can like get some extra value, resources in terms of soul charges. Maybe we even have a back row attacker, and we have cards that of course enable you to go into the White Wing spectrum of abilities. So you can do all kinds of clever things, but the more important thing in my opinion here is the back row attacker, so you can achieve more attacks, but also the ability to go into White Wing. So if you want to be in White Wings with this effect, that means you will always attain White Wings, because you just search out that specific Black Wings card that turn you into White Wings, so you enable it whatever the scenario you are in. So keep that in mind. Thanks to this ability, you can guarantee White Wings every single turn. But then of course, what is her White Wings effect? Her White Wings effect is Auto Vanguard Circle. At the end of the battle this unit attacked, cost counter +1 and discard a card from your hand. Search your deck or hand for up to one card with Archangel of Twin Wings Alestiel as its original card name, so not herself, you need the original R. Write it as stand, and it gets drive -1 until the end of turn. If you search your deck, shuffle your deck. So this is basically a restander. And yes, you get -1 drive, but you get some value back of the discard, as you just discard one, but you then get one drive check, so you get that card back. And yes, you count +1, but keep in mind you can deck filter as well, so but you have more chance of actually hitting triggers, and you get more soul because you're rewriting, which is honestly great. And because of the dress up mechanic, you can still get consistent persona riding, as you can go back into this swing the following turn and just keep going over and over and over again, which honestly is pretty great. So what's the reason why I say this card is going to be crazy and maybe potentially broken to some extent? Well, let me clarify what is going on here. Nothing on this skill specify your opponent to be at grade 3. So you have a rewriting, restanding Vanguard on turn 3, and if you go first, your opponent is still at grade 2. That is already pretty damn good, especially for only one counterblast. You swing twice with the Vanguard. First twin drive, then single drive. Now that in itself doesn't sound too crazy, but once we take a look at the Black Wings and White Wings and the support card around it, you start to understand where things start to go crazy. First off, the Black Wings, White Wings mechanic is a bit of RNG because you're basically relying on the fact that you're going to bind, so you get one of those effects. But thanks to this Alestiel's effect, as already explained earlier, you can guarantee you will be in White Wings the moment that it matters, so you will always have to rewrite. Because even if you are in Black Wings, you can search out one of the 2 Black Wings cards that either cost a Counter Blast or a Soul Blast, so if you don't have the Counter Blast to spare, you can go for the Soul Blast one, to turn it into a White Wings, and then you basically can go from there, and you just do the rewrite regardless. But in the case that either you already have drawn into those cards or you are in White Wings, you don't have to go that direction. But let's say, for example, you are in Black Wings, but you don't have to tutor for one of those cards. You can tutor for the back row attacker, and you have extra attacks before you go into the rewrite, which honestly makes the deck even more pressure heavy, because yes, it's a 10k attacker, but if your opponent's at grade 2, that 10k still hits. But it can be even crazier, because the whole thing about this whole mechanic is that if you open up the original supporting grade 3 Tripwire in Incandescent Focal Alcohol, things start to break completely. Because this is a grade 3 that has the effect, when your Vanguard is placed, you can bind this and draw a card. It's a grade 3 that then binds itself and you draw a card. So you cycle basically when you rewrite. And originally it was planned that if you write to grade 3 the next turn, so you Persona write, this is a way to potentially get more Black Wings and White Wings ability. Because she also has the effect that if she's bound, both White Wings and Black Wings ability will activate. So it enables you to get both of the best worlds. Now, this is where things start to break, because now that we have a superior write engine, if you draw into her in the early game, you can just call her to the board, attack with it, then you superior write, and because you superior write, you bind her, you draw a card, and now Black Wings and White Wings ability are also activated for the rest of the turn. So that back row attacker you might have tutored out or maybe called, that is still able to attack from the back row because you are still in Black Wings, even though you are also in White Wings. And that allows you to do all kinds of shenanigans. And then you can say, well, that doesn't sound all too crazy, but then we also have to take a look at the original Alestiel, because she also has Black Wings and White Wings ability. Because she has the effect that if you are in White Wings, she gets 5k and a critical. So that means the second Vanguard swing isn't just 13k single drive, it's a 18k with double crit one drive, while you already attack with a 13k twin drive Vanguard. But then on top of that, she also has the Black Wings ability that minus 5k to your opponent's front row. So if both abilities are activated, then not only are you at 18k double crit single drive Vanguard swing for the second Vanguard swing, your opponent is also losing 5k power. So if they are still at grade 2, they are not 10k, they are 5k. And even if they got defensive, they're still 15k, which is still lower than your Vanguard swing. And the crazy part about this is that this grade 3 bound itself. So that means the next turn, your Alestiel main or beginning of main phase ability activates, and you can add her back to your hand from bind zone, and you can call this grade 3 and do the whole thing over again if you're able to ride back into the dress up Alestiel. You might say, well, that might not be as consistent because you need to search it back. With the amount of drawing you're doing and potentially filtering, it's not that crazy to think about it. You're able to get to that card on a consistent basis. And keep in mind, there is a specific dress-up searcher already being revealed in this set, so there's even ways to get consistent access to copies of this new Alestiel, so you can do this whole loop over and over and over again, each and every single turn, which basically only costs one counterblast to do. Even if you need to tutor out the grade 2 Black Wings card to go into White Wings, it's still able to just go for the Soul Blast one. And because you're rewriting, you're generating the soul as well. So, yeah, being able to swing with the Vanguard, then go into a new Vanguard, that then minus 5k opponent, you get plus 5k, you get a critical, also multi-attacking because you have a back row attacker potentially, a unit that also binds itself to draw into more cards, so you cycle faster through your deck, for all the cost of a low single counterblast. It's kind of ridiculous if you think about it, especially if you take in mind that your opponent can be at grade 2 when this is happening. And this is only talking about the new Alestiel. We also have 2 extra support cards that can make things even nuttier beyond that. So let's take a look at those support cards as well to understand where we're going with this. So we have a brand new grade 1, which is of course a White Wings type of card, which is together with you Seraphiel. And Seraphiel has the effect, although when displayed on the Vanguard circle, choose a grade 3 card with Alestiel's card name from your drop and put it on the bottom of your deck. This is great to basically enable the whole superior right on a consistent basis, or maybe put more persona right targets back into your deck. This is just great overall, because you can now say, maybe I want to run less of the original Alestiel, is that just a superior right target to get into. This allows you to get away with running less copies. Do you want to do that? I don't know, depends on how we're gonna fine-tune the deck basically. But then she has another effect, which in my opinion is making things even crazier, and that's White Wings auto from back row Vanguard circle. When your unit with Alestiel's card name is placed on the Vanguard circle during your battle phase, stand this unit. A restanding back row booster. And it's 8k, not 7, which is really good, because remember, you will always be at White Wings regardless of what your opening hand is or what you're high rolling. This is something you can guarantee. That means this ability will always activate. So you can swing with this as a booster for your Vanguard, rewrite, it restands, and you can swing again. So now that 18k Vanguard number that I was talking about, it comes with double crit, it's not 18k anymore. It's 26. And your first Vanguard swing is not 13, but 21. Which honestly doesn't sound too great, except for the second Vanguard swing. That's honestly a pretty good number, especially if you think about it. You could do this against a 10k base, grade 2. But there's another thing to keep in mind. Because it's a booster that restand, if your opponent is not perfect guarding it and it's hard guarding it, every trigger can just be put on the booster as if it's given to the Vanguard, and then if it restand, that increased power potential is then also given to the second Vanguard swing. So every trigger basically counts as twice if you put it on this card during the Vanguard swing, which is really powerful, especially if you hit like a crit or a trigger or just any trigger on the first Vanguard swing, which makes the whole turn even more devastating. So yeah, this is a booster for that playstyle. It's pretty damn good. But then we also have another card, which is an interesting card that might or might not come up, because we have another grade 2 Black Wings card, which is Enveloping Love Ariel. I think that's how you pronounce that. And she has the effect, although when it's placed in the Vanguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Alestiel's card name, cost count as 1, choose one card from your bind zone, put it into hand. If you did, bind the top card off your deck. So it's essentially a plus engine. It's not the greatest plus engine, but it allows you to potentially get to certain cards if you need them. And this could potentially be a third type of Blackwing target to turn you from Black Wings into White Wings, but it's not as guaranteed as the other ones that we already discussed earlier in this video. But it's an option nonetheless. But she has another effect which could come up, which has the effect Black Wings auto. When placed in the Guardian Circle, choose one of your opponent's attacking units and it gets power minus 5k until the end of turn. So this is essentially a 10k shield, but it's a 10k shield that can last with added value if the unit is going to restand. So things like Flagberg or Maelstrom or any other restanding rearguards or potentially restanding Vanguards could get more benefit from this. Like if you're playing premium against something like the Cross that can restand like thrice, this can give you way more value and more bang for your buck. Now you might think to yourself, hold on a moment, this is a Black Wings ability and you're going to end up in White Wings regardless of what you're doing because you want to go into the reset play, so this isn't as good as a defensive option. And yes, you might be correct, but if you use the triple R Elkel to get both effects, that will last until the end of your opponent's turn. So if you are able to activate her, then this effect will still activate even though you might be originally in White Wings, which is great because that means you get best of both worlds again. The only issue that I have with this particular card is that both effects specify when placed with the current translation, which means if you use her for the on place to draw basically plus, then you cannot use her as the additional shield value, which is kind of a shame because usually most cards in standard have like put into the Guardian Circle so you can intercept with them and still use their effects, but in this case that's not as it's currently translated, but that could be changed once we get the official translation, but we have to wait and see till the semantics are out for that one. But overall, that's basically everything for the reveals, but that's not really that's all, because as we just showcased, this new Alestiel is kind of cracked, and yeah, this is just talking about the direct support card for Alestiel, just in the White Wings, Black Wings engine, we still have a whole nation to talk about that can potentially interact with this with just generic cards that can also empower what this deck is supposed to do. And the numbers have been thrown at you right now has been numbers without Persona Riding in mind. So yeah, imagine if you're able to Persona Ride and then you swing twice with the Vanguard and you have like extra attackers and potentially restanding boosters and back row attackers and everything in between. Things can go nutty. Alestiel is looking pretty great, and I'm terrified for what the rest is going to bring, because if this is the next level, oh boy, if Standard is going to go pretty hard, pretty fast. But that's basically everything that I have to say about these new reveals. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below about what your thoughts are on these new Alestiel cards and the combos this card enables, as there might be definitely things that I'm even overlooking, and the card might even be better than I'm thinking that it's going to be. So let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, this video has been brought to you by our lovely Patreons over patreon.com/insider. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can simply go to patreon.com/insider and become a Patreon today. But with that said, I've been Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one!